What up, metalheads, and welcome to the first day of our controversy series where we discuss controversial albums in the metal discography. Now, where's Isaac? Okay, we did record a video earlier for you guys, and there's been a lot of technical difficulties uploading it. So instead, I am recording a new video without him because he's still kind of sick, and he's just kind of pushing through and recording the videos, you know. And the fact that he already had to record it, I tried uploading it and it's not working. He doesn't want to record again, so I'm just here doing another one on my own. And so the album I'm going to be discussing, well, reviewing, the album I'm going to be discussing and reviewing is Th1rt3en by Megadeth. So why am I not discussing Risk if Risk is their most controversial one? Well, the way I see it is Risk doesn't have a lot to talk about, it doesn't have a lot to cover. Risk is only controversial because it really was their first turn away from metal, especially the thrash roots, and they start going into pop territory. Other than that, that's kind of the only controversy there is on Risk, in that it was their first real exaggerated turning point, and that's why it's the most controversial one. Why am I not reviewing Super Collider, since that also is their most controversial one? Well, to me that's not necessarily controversial, but it's more that it's just their worst album that they put out, and it's not much to talk about there either because it's just a bad album. Being a bad album doesn't count as controversial to me. Controversial is like, well, what Risk did. However, again, Risk has so little to talk about. So what I thought the best controversial album to pick would be Th1rt3en. The reason why is because there's not a lot of talk on this album, so why not bring this to the table of metal and talk about it and its controversies. So first thing to start with this album is that this is their 13th album. This album is pretty controversial because there are some people that like it, some people that don't like it, some people that think it's alright, and it has Megadeth in it, right? It's got the Megadeth ingredients in it, but it also goes against what Megadeth usually does. It's something different that they're doing again, and it does provoke people. You know, when this album came out, like I said, there were some battles between people saying, oh, this album's terrible, oh, this album's not, oh, this album's somewhat good, oh, this album could be good, but blah 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 and so on. So here we are to clarify. The first track off of the album, the way the album opens, Sudden Death. Check this out.
His wicked highness, born from disaster, to dominate and kill. A glistening murder machine, false majesty standing perfectly still. A blitzkrieg raining down evil on a mountain of black ice, like a good old-fashioned dream.
Again, really muted, real heavy. I believe this tuning is drop D tuning, which Megadeth doesn't usually do that, so this is something new that they're doing here, drop D. Dave's vocals are pretty, he's starting to sound rough at this point. You can hear that he's becoming an old guy, and he needs some vocal assistance, and the vocal assistance is not here on this album, which kind of brings it back down. And another thing that weighs against this album is that the vocals are turned up really high on this album. But other than that, I believe that this is a good way to start out the album. It's kind of promising, real thrashy, real mean and heavy, and it's kind of our traditional Megadeth, but they're also doing something new. So the next song I'm going to dive into is We the People, and well, Dave is famous for his controversial political lyrics, and this song really shows that lyrically. However, I do kind of like the song. It's heavy metal, but it's heavy metal. It's not thrash metal. It's not traditional Megadeth, but rather the vocals are really loud on this album. I kind of wish the instruments were turned up a little bit more. In my opinion, one of the things that really hinders this album is Dave's vocals. He's not the greatest singer. They're really pushed up front in front of all the other instruments. Check this out.
And the double life
Okay, so that wasn't bad. I actually like that. It's a good tune. Again, the problem is not only does it sound so clean and polished, it's the production, really. The production, it doesn't work. In metal music, the production shouldn't be this clean. Sometimes it should, but in this case, it shouldn't. It sounds kind of robotic, like computer produced, as if, they recorded the drumming and then they recorded the guitar work separately and then digitally put it together. I hate the sound of that. I know it makes things easier, but it doesn't sound real, okay? Again, with the whole vocals being really loud. I mean, his vocals are kind of overbearing because the instruments are really good. The instruments are, the whole song is good. It's the way it's put together and, the production of it, it's kind of messy. It's really messy here. Then we're gonna get into New World Order, which they demoed this off of what was it, Euthanasia? And I liked it off of Euthanasia. It sounded really good, but it had the quality of a demo tape. So check out the clean and revised version, the actual official song. So here it is. Okay, so I like that a lot, actually. I really do like it. Again, it's just the way it's put together that keeps me from really liking the song. The structure of the song is great. It sounds really like classic Megadeth. It's got like that kind of sloppy, like jazz feel to it. It's almost thrash, but it isn't. His vocals are doing that sloppy, like snarling kind of thing, which we all like that about Megadeth. But the tuning does not work for this song. This song sounds better in standard E tuning, not standard D tuning. If they did, they could have at least upped the tempo and it probably would have matched, but I don't know. This album sounds like it got released in mid-production. Cause I mean, these songs are great. They're just not put together all that well. The riffs don't seem to be placed right. For example, in that one that we just heard, this right here. That guitar lead is turned up way louder than the rhythm, which shouldn't be the case, right? But for this tuning, I feel like the rhythm should match the guitar lead, or at least the guitar lead should be turned slightly up, but in this case the guitar lead is turned way up and it drowns out the rhythm. The rhythm over here, okay, that should be stronger and much louder, but instead it's kind of drowned out in the back, so it's hard to move your head to it, and then you have the lead over it, which is so loud, and because of how loud it is and how quiet the rhythm is, they don't make sense together. The chorus is pretty neat. Check this out.
No confession, all is known. New world order, you shall be shown. No confession, all is known.
Okay, that chorus is great, but again, they're singing real hard. The tempo. This is a moment in the song where it should be, New world order, you shall be known. Real out there, real thrash-like. But instead, the rhythm that's actually guiding the intensity of that song is turned down so much, so it almost sounds like he's singing to something that should be there that isn't there. It's kind of hard to explain. I hope you understand what I'm saying, but the volume of the guitar is turned down so low on it, and it really takes away from this. Again, the tuning of the song doesn't match it. I don't like it, which sucks because it's a good song executed horribly. Alright, next is probably the fan favorite, Black Swan. I don't really like the song that well, but I do think it is the strongest point of the song. Go ahead and check out how this song opens up. That song opens up really promising with a really well structured guitar solo. The riff behind it is really nice, which is actually the main riff of this song, and it's actually pretty good. It's pretty decent. The volume, I feel, works on this album. I feel like the song was actually made first on the album because it feels like it's finished, unlike the rest of the album. It feels like the song was actually thought out and finished and, refined and put together actually the way it should be. Okay, but then we get into this bridge to the chorus, and it's actually, again, it's done pretty beautiful. Check this out.
My angels left me, sorrows are my own. Now I'm here with the devil on my own. Just like a churchyard shadow grieving after me. It's only there to terrify my mind. The black swan keeps haunting me.
Alright, so there was the bridge and the chorus. It's good. It's pretty good. This shows the potential of this album. This album to me had potential, and that song could have been this album. Because that song seems to work really well, and it definitely brings to the table good musicianship, good instrumental, and good even vocals, and the structure of all of it together. It really works, the chemistry. And all of the other songs had good instrumentals and had great, rhythm and melody and everything. But again, they just weren't put together that well. They almost seemed rushed, or as if they were released in mid-production. This is the only song on here that seems to be finished and complete. Alright, now we're going to get to Millennium of the Blind. And I really want to emphasize on the song because this song could have been something classic and legendary. The potential of what it had and actually what it was trying to do is almost outstanding, I think. It's just great. But it falls under the same problem that the rest of the songs fall under on this album. Again, execution, production. Just check it out and I'll get into it more later. That riff right there is great. The melody is awesome, but there's something about it that I can't put my finger on. It feels really out of place. Maybe it's the rhythm that's playing behind it. Maybe it's playing over the wrong riff. I don't know if that's the case or not, but either way, it just doesn't sound like it belongs, even though it's a great melody. Check out this little vocal part of the song. It's not the verse. There is no real verse or chorus to this song. Well put together progression. But yeah, check out Dave's.
Turn in your eyes. You just won't need them anymore. When your mind is ours to do with what we please. Everything you own and
Alright. I thought that was nice. Now, again, there's something that's wrong here with it. Now, what I think it is, Dave's vocals are too loud. If the vocals would have been turned down a little bit more, I feel like this would have worked and just been an enjoyable part of the song. However, it's not that enjoyable, but I like what they're trying to do here in the song. I want to like this song, but it's not working out for me. It feels a little awkward. But what I do like and what I do think works pretty well is this part right here.
Sacrifice your leaders, like it or not, or else you're going down with the ship, death on the rocks. Blind follow, blind lead.
So that was pretty cool, especially when he says death on the rocks. He actually, the second time he says that, he actually says it really awesome. Check this out.
Going down with the ship, death on the rocks.
Okay, so that whole death on the rocks part works really well. Again, the vocals are too loud. If they would have been turned down more, and the guitar would really be emphasizing on that "Death on the Rocks," I feel like that would just be legendary. It's just so awesome, almost iconic in a way for Megadeth. But they missed out on the opportunity. I feel like they would have really put more time into putting together the song. Okay, now we get to this part of the song, which is the epic part of the song, the grand. And I feel like if the song would have been done correctly, this would have been the epic of the album. But I still like it a lot. I like this part a lot, even though it doesn't execute itself as properly as I would have liked it to be. But it's still really fun to listen to sometimes. Check this out.
At the start of time, many centuries ago, came the spawning of Christ and the Antichrist, and darkness fell upon our people, and the children, they were born faceless, without eyes they could not see, born unto themselves, they lived and they died in the millennium of the blind.
Okay, so that little trilling right there when he says in the millennium of the blind, the trilling of the guitars, it gives me chills every time. Now, that was really cool. I liked it. It sounded really dramatic and theatrical. However, it just doesn't. I feel like what it is this album does not. It's not for Megadeth. I feel like maybe Metallica would have done this better, or any other band really. I feel like Dave just came up with songs that are good songs, but not necessarily something that he can pull off. So yeah, that's just how I feel about this album. Th1rt3en, I would give this maybe 5 out of 10 stars, maybe 5.5. It's a solid album, but it's not necessarily enjoyable to listen to. Feels like this album was going somewhere, but then they just released it when they weren't done with it. Yeah, that's all I got on this album so far. Okay, now. Yeah, so that's what I think of this album. Let me know what you think of this album. Now, do I recommend this album? I would not recommend this album. I'm not saying to stay away from it. It's probably something interesting to go explore into, but I don't know. It has potential. Maybe if you want to cover the songs and do your own twist on it, it would probably turn out better than the original. If you tried to do what they were doing but actually executed it well, it'd probably turn out to be a really good album. See you guys for tomorrow's controversial album review.